All right. So people have been asking me over the years how I started SkillStack, whether they can get private mentored, whether I still do private mentoring, and sometimes how they can promote mentoring, how they can help me mentor people, how they can help other people be mentored by people like me and other people. And they want to know my story. So I'm just going to spit out my story as fast as possible. So back when I was Mormon, this is going back a long ways, I was a Boy Scout leader. And a good one, by the way. I mean, I was, and we would go out, and there was a bunch of nerds that didn't want to really be scouts, and they didn't really like the outdoors or anything. And they kept asking me, Mr. Rob, teach us to code, teach us to build computers, teach us to hack, teach us to do all these other things, do all the things that I love to do in the spare time. And we'd be out sitting around the campfire we would be talking about hacking and networking. And in fact, I remember one specific camp where one of the other scoutmasters, I won't say his name, but he was the leader of the security detail for a huge bank in Charlotte. And I won't say the bank, it would be a violation. And he told us all these great stories about cybersecurity and partnering with the FBI to do things that banks can do that the government can't do. And basically he knew he was with a bunch of Boy Scouts and he was at a camp, and that none of that was going to go outside of that, which is why I'm not going to reveal who this person was. But all of these kids, all these nerds who really didn't want to be out there roasting or mostly burning marshmallows and like killing lizards, they didn't really want to be there. I mean, I love the outdoors, but they didn't really want to be there. They wanted to do something more, and they wanted to learn coding. And then the idea came about back then that, oh my God, wouldn't it be cool if there was like scouting for tech? There was like a scout program, that helped learn technology skills. And I was like, damn, that is a great idea. We really need that, because the Scouting Merit Badge program is amazing at helping people who don't have any time to mentor people who want to learn. That's how the Merit Badge program works in the Boy Scouts of America. And all the controversy aside, that process of mentoring and guided learning in the scouting program is very solid. The idea of giving them a badge and gamifying it, you can argue that merit badges were the first gamification of learning, period. And it was a great idea, and I didn't have the wherewithal, I didn't have the time and the resources to act on it, and it was always a dream of mine. So that happened, that idea occurred a lot earlier than that, and then life happened, and I found out the Mormons were doing horrible things and behind the scenes, and I don't have anything against anybody who is Mormon. I just did not want to be Mormon anymore. I lost my testimony. I fell away from the church. A bunch of bad things, embarrassing things happened that were probably inappropriate for me to tell you now. If you want to talk to me in private Twitch, I'll tell you the whole story. But it was really ugly, and I ended up getting divorced. I got kicked out of the church. I cheated. I'll just say that I cheated with a teacher that I fell in love with, and I wasn't Mormon anymore, and my ex-wife didn't want me anymore because I wasn't Mormon anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, now I'm happy again, right? I went through my whole divorced years, my single days, which those stories we'll save for another day. Oh my God, the stories. But then I met Doris, right? Doris, who just got a job as a project manager for the McCall Center, which is like one of the premier artist residency programs in Charlotte. And, we've been married for some time now, but when I first met her, the first year that we were together, this is how I knew she was my soulmate. She said, one day we were just working together. We were trying to decide where to live, and we were living in an apartment just like now, strangely. And, we both lost our homes and finances because of divorce and everything. And she said, after I told her my idea I said, man, I wish I could really just retire, because I was finding like bugs and seriously, my task at the time was finding memory leaks in really bad C code that had been written in an application at IBM that ran on everybody's computer at the industry to tattletale on them for not paying them enough for Tivoli software. It literally tattletaled on them and said, hey, you added 3 CPUs to this machine. You owe us more money. So not only was I finding bugs which made me really great at finding memory buffer overflows and using, GDB for symbolic debugging and everything. But it was like, I hated my job. I hated it. The only thing I liked about it is I got to use Linux and I got to use the terminal. But everything else was like, okay, I am debugging horrible code written by somebody else that I'm not even writing so that IBM can get better at tattletaling on huge enterprise customers so they can suck more money out of them. And it was so bad. And on top of that, I had a Texan, horrible, angry, grumpy manager, Ron, Yeah, Ron's one of the few people. He's on the top 5 of my list, along with Victoria McCullough, of people I hate in life. I hope he died a horrible, painful death. I really do. It's kind of a joke, but anyway, this person was a horrible, horrible person, and I had to work for this person on top of the rest of that, and I was like, no, I didn't feel any meaning in life. I was like, this sucks. And my soulmate, I was also going through a horrible divorce. I was paying $45,000 a year to my ex-wife, and things were bad. Things were really bad. But and on top of all of that, my wife said, Doris said, I told her about my dream, and she said, do it. I'm going to pause the video for a second. All right, I'm back. So she said to do it, and I did. And she actually even said, in New York, they have these townhomes, or you could just live above the townhome and you could have your school underneath. And I was like, damn, that's a great idea. And we were looking for apartments. And so she found the apartment, and then we found the apartment. We went in there, and that's where SkillStack happened. And you can still go look at the original pictures of SkillStack. They're still out on Twitter and on Instagram, twitter.com/SkillStack. And you can actually stalk the original stuff that was here from way back when. There's lots of pictures here. Our Instagram's probably more fun to watch, actually. But this is ancient stuff. Instagram has our SkillStack. And so that's after we moved, which is another thing. That's when we got out of it. But so yeah, so here's SkillStack. There's people in this video who have been in my Twitch stream, that and I won't name them. And then this is it. This is the place we made. There's our dog, Sam, and they were playing Super Hot here. We had game nights on the weekend, and basically we took the idea of scouts and just took the scouts out of it and just made it a big club. It was just a big learning community, a big learning club where we had fun with each other. God, the memories. Every one of these kids is in college now, and if I could tell you what they're doing now, it's crazy. That kid right there ran his own school. That kid led the security detail. That other kid, I could just go on and on and on with all the skills that these people have learned. This was a game night, of course, and we did paddleboarding camps, we did yoga camps, and fun stuff. And you can go look at that if you want to. This is our lightsaber camp. Is this lightsaber camp? No, this was the back end of SkillStack part. We would come into it, and okay, there's Elizabeth. We had all kinds of different people in here. We had men, we had boys, girls, MBs, everybody. In fact, I had more than one person come to me after the fact years later and say SkillStack was a safe space for me. I could come there and be who I was. And they went on to have some of them had extreme struggles even with their parents. That kid on the left there, his dad drowned in a swimming accident that year. And so, that kid right there is homosexual. At the time, he didn't know it, but he came out to his parents, who were very, very afraid. I could go on and on and on. It became everything that I ever dreamt of while I was sitting there in the Boy Scout, circle, that I wanted to be. And that was because of people like Doris who told me to do it. That was because of teachers I had when I was a kid. Blaine Polson, who was a wounded veteran officer who lost his ability to walk without a cane, and decided to be a 6th grade school teacher and teach about the justice system. It became Professor Lundquist, who taught me as a kid the Bloom's taxonomy and how to learn. It was a culmination of wanting to give back and teach people after having gotten so much from so many other people, and also having somebody who believed in me truly, not like my ex-wife, and who didn't just want money, who didn't want me to go sell gold so I could make more money. Seriously, my ex-wife wanted me to do that. And I mean, we had this is our van. I designed these vans. We made the logos and everything for it. It was really fun. That's another game night, actually. It's just I tended to video the game nights because they were the most fun, and this was, you know, our social media feed. So then what came about from that? So then the rest is history, right? So the rest is pretty much history. We started to do this, and then we got kicked out. We got kicked out of our building because this happened the week that we got kicked out. This happened on the day of a summer camp. Our landlord didn't tell us this was going to happen, and I'm not kidding. We were not informed of the close to the front. So I almost had to close my camps, my summer camps. We were only scraping by because I only charged, you know, like $40-50 an hour for this, and we're really scraping by trying to do this. And this landlord didn't tell us anything and destroyed our summer camps and made them dangerous. Actually, we found razor blades for 2 weeks on the thing. There were nails everywhere, and I was supposed to have a business there, and I lost it. I got so angry. I had to ask Doris. Thank God she helped me again to deal with the landlord over this, because I was so irate that there's no way that I could talk to the dude. I was so upset. And so we had to live through that. And because of the fallout from that, because in fact, this piece of shit landlord actually said to my ex-wife, because I said to him, the only thing I ever said to him is I said, look, next time you go through this, I suggest you spend some time to learn to empathize with the people that are paying you money. And he told my ex-wife, and this is exact words, I don't do empathy. And on that, I said, and because of that fallout, the next month we got together with him. We had this nice sit down. It was all really great and everything, because we were trying to decide what to do. We didn't know if we were going to even have a place to have a business. And this was my livelihood. And we had a sit down meeting with him to decide what to do going forward. And at that meeting, he said, yes, I'll renew your lease for 5 years. I'm so sorry we went through this problem. We shook hands and we left. And within 30 days, this guy told us that we had 30 days to get out of the house, completely against his verbal shake hands agreement that we could stay in the place, because I didn't get it in writing. And he kicked us out. I had never once missed any rent. I hadn't missed anything. And he kicked us out. And when we asked why it was, he said, I want to use this space to do other things. It turns out his other things were he wanted to try to run his horrible real estate business and risk management business out of this space. And so he originally gave us 30 days, and I almost lost it on him. And Doris, again, talked to him, and she got 60 days out of him. So we had scheduled camps, we had scheduled everything for that summer, and now we had to move our entire house and our business and all of our clientele in a month. And so we did that, and we pulled it off. We moved it in a month, and to this day I don't know how I did it. We were over it's funny because it happened over July 4th, which is coming up right now. So over the week of July 4th, in fact, I bet this date stamp is going to be, what is it? When was this date stamp? Oh, I'm really curious to see when the date stamp of this is. I wish I could see. I can't see it. So this is me porting all of SkillStack into this house that Doris found in like 4 days. It was a total miracle that she found it in Davidson. And we rented a U-Haul, and we moved our entire house. Doris and I, both, in our 50s. She wasn't quite in her 50s yet. We moved our entire house and our entire business, networking and everything, in 1 week over July 4th. And I was up until 4. I was also teaching camps during the day. So we were moving at night, and we moved until 4 a.m. I remember I was just so exhausted. And you can kind of tell if there's any pictures of me here. And so we were able to successfully run the game camps. We had the lightsaber camp here, even though it was supposed to be there. And there's actually video of lightsaber camp the year before that's much more fun than this. If you go back far enough, you can go see the lightsaber camp, where we had outdoors in the background, but we still held all our camps and everything, and people still came. There's actually a picture of us trying to have the networking camp in the middle of. I mean, this is what they made us do. They made us bring in. They forced us to bring. This is. I can't even look at this. It just makes me so sick. That's where our customers were supposed to come, and so we had to bring all of our plants into the house. And that's all the T-shirts and everything. And that was like on the 3 days. And then after those days were over, that stuff was still there, and we were still supposed to have camp, and they didn't clear it out or anything. So I was pissed, and obviously that probably came across, and then we ended up getting canceled. I canceled all the activities, and every time I canceled a day of work, I didn't get any money at all. So I couldn't pay my rent. I couldn't pay for food. I did. I paid everything. I never missed a payment. In fact, at the time, I never even missed a payment to my ex-wife, which was a lot. And I pulled that off anyway. So where was I going with this? So then we moved, and there's a Raspberry Pi camp that we had. So we did a Raspberry Pi camp. He did that himself, by the way. This exercise was just to get one set of LEDs working, and he took it upon himself to see how many lights he could get on there, and he took everybody else's lights, and he made this work on his own. He's a brilliant little autodidact, and I am just so happy to have been a part of that whole thing. It was just so cool. And so then, COVID hits, right? So we get in the apartment. We're in the apartment for a year. It's really hard to meet our minimums because now people are driving up to our driveway. In fact, the Google Maps thing still has one of my customers out in the driveway walking in one at a time, and I could only take 3 or 4 people at a time, and then eventually I had to take it down to 1 person at a time. And all along that way, I had to let go of people, and our income was going down, and it was just, and then COVID hit on top of all of that, and I kept it going through COVID. But during COVID, we started to do everything remotely. And I was already doing stuff remotely because of the situation before COVID hit. So thank God I was ready for that. And I was doing online mentoring one-on-one. So this question that came about, that reminds me, the question is, do you still do one-on-one mentoring? And in order to answer that question, believe it or not, I have to tell you this story because this is where we are now. So back then, well, it was like I always had 1 to 3. So it was me and 3 others, or it was a TA and 3 elders. We never had more than that to deal with because we found out that the dynamic for learning, if you have more than 3, it gets kind of messy. And even with 3, by the way, 3 is better than 2 because if you have 2, it's a competition. If you have 3, it's not really a competition. It still is, but it's kind of a group, right? If you have 2 people and they're friends, it's a competition. I actually had one kid introduce another kid to SkillStack, and the other kid was better. That kid had been here for 4 years. Noticed the other kid was better while we were teaching him 1-on-2, and he dropped out because he was sick and tired of being second fiddle to this kid he got, which was really sad. And when that happened, I was like, no, we're done. We're doing one-on-one. That's it. And we went to one-on-one. We didn't have to change the rates, but I had to work a lot more. I mean, I was working, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, every week, including no weekends, no nothing. And I was, at that point, we were doing a little bit of it in person, and then we went with masks on, and then we went fully remote. And then I was able to just deal with people. That was when I found out that one of the best students, a girl who lives an hour away, who'd been coming for 5 years, and I didn't know she lived that far away. And she was actually happy because she could now remote do her thing from, I want to say, not Hickory. What's the other place up there? It's up by Morganton and Asheville. That's how far away every week she drove 45 minutes to come to SkillStack. And I was like, damn. And she was so good. She won all kinds of awards, and she was leading the computer science courses up in her area and everything. And she was, oh God, she was just amazing. And I'm just remembering all these individuals that were part of my life for so long, and they're still a part of my life, a lot of them. So anyway, they were doing all these things. And, then I had to do the online thing, and COVID hit. And then, as luck would have it, this particular apartment, one day I was sitting at that table, and all of a sudden I was like, why are my feet wet during a rainstorm? And the floor was covered in a 1/4 inch of water. And I was looking around to see if I was going to get electrocuted. And it turned out that this house was at the bottom of a wash. And so it was getting water all over in it. And seriously, I'm so glad these things are elevated right here, because there was like water all over everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, stuff's going to get ruined. And we had the plugs on the ground and stuff. And after that, and we talked to the landlord, and the landlord's like, I'll see what I can get to. And they, like a month, they did it. It took them a month to do anything. And so my wife spent $4,000 and put in a drainage system of her own and refurbished the entire yard of this place, which and it got it to be this beautiful thing that had the proper water management and everything, and the people could drive in and out and drop their kids off and everything, and we were doing fine. We were doing good. And around that time, I got offered a job for $250,000 a year to work as a consultant for a company, and the vice president of a company offered me that job directly because it was a mother of one of the people that I was mentoring. And I almost took it. No, I didn't go. The COVID thing was a little bit later. And so yeah, I remember sitting outside on the patio that my wife had made. It was so beautiful. We had butterflies. In fact, we had butterflies flying around everywhere. She had made this amazing butterfly garden out of our house, and I wish I had a picture of it. In fact, when they eventually rented it out and sold it, it said beautiful butterfly garden. And I'm like, yeah, because we made it. I mean, we built the whole thing. They didn't spend a dime on that. We even had to buy our own refrigerator, which we ended up leaving there. It's because the story gets worse, right? So I didn't take the job because I got offered actually 2 jobs while I was there. The leader of a huge tech talent company. That's probably too much of a clue. They offered me a job to create all of their curriculum. And they told me point blank, I met with their CTO, I met with their executive and their CEO, who was absolutely phenomenal, by the way. I would have really loved working with those people. They were very, very good people, and they're very, very wealthy. They are running a multinational educational training business for technology, and they contacted me directly. And they said, we want you to come teach this. And I got contacted by 3 private schools. I actually took one of the jobs at Woodlawn, and I started teaching at the private school on the side as well to kind of supplement the money. But the Tech Talent South, whoops, I'm not supposed to say the name. When they offered me the job, I asked them point blank. I said, we want you to be in charge of our curriculum and to make it and guide it and everything and develop new curriculum. And they said, and I quote, I asked them point blank on the phone after we had this great interview. I said, am I going to be able to share this anywhere else besides here? And they said, oh no, this will all be proprietary. And you can tell what I did there, right? So, I mean, I could have made triple what I'm making now, which is good. If I had actually taken that on, I would have been one of the highest people in that organization. Not to mention the fact that I could have made, a quarter to and up, north of $250,000 a year working for this vice president who specifically wrote it in email. I still have the email. She wrote me the amount and everything. And on the spot, she's like, you come be a consultant for us. We have customers all over. We have a big French contingency. We want you to come do the training and run the consulting. And by the way, she'd make sure her kid was last. And she would sit with me after the session was over for about 30 minutes. And I really liked her, and she was a good contact to get into what was going on in technology and stuff. But she'd never heard of GitLab, and she was about to pitch CI/CD to this big organization. She never even heard of it. So she would sit there, and she would just tap me for knowledge all the time because I was still interested in the stuff. I just had to learn on my own time. And so I would sit there and I would talk to her, and I would give her a bunch of stuff, and she would tell me stuff that some of which I've repeated on Twitch streams that I probably shouldn't have. She would tell me stuff behind the scenes that was going on in some of these big companies, and I was like, oh my God. And it was amazing. It was a really great relationship. I really appreciated it. And around that time, by the way, Doris was still there, and there was always somebody in the room or next to the room, because obviously I can't have women students in a one-on-one environment without. We had a carpet partition to the kitchen room. It's right to the left there, and Doris or Otto was always in the next room over. We never violated anything with that. But and Doris was teaching yoga. She had been trained in yoga, and she was teaching it pretty religiously. That's when she actually met Katie, our best friends now, and she met a bunch of other people. She also was doing a lot of art, and she was doing art in the room next to us. Right now, she had a whole art studio in that other room. That was what kicked off her art career, and then it was shortly after the next big event that she actually got accepted to the McCall Center and started her residency there. So we got kicked out of this building. This during COVID. I'm not even kidding. During COVID, while we were struggling, and we had taken over this house, put $4,000 into it. Doris had all of her art up on the walls. You can go look at her Instagram and see everything. We had totally invested in this because the person who gave us this place to rent said, "Oh yeah, we want to support you. We love you. We're so glad you're here in Davidson." It was all a lie. It was all a lie. And when COVID hit, the person who was the intermediary, the woman with whom we'd been communicating with the owner, almost was in tears when she told us. She said, "I'm sorry, we have to call you. Have to be out in a month again." And we're like, "What the hell? COVID is going on. We can't move. Why do we have to move?" She goes, "The owner wants to liquidate the asset." And we're like, and Doris and I were like, because we liked the woman who represented him. We were like, "Well, what the hell? Why we've just invested our own money. We've bought our own fridge here. We love this place. We're totally settled." That was when I started streaming. All the videos with me with an orange face are me streaming from that place. And we thought we'd finally hit our stride. And they said, "No, I'm sorry, you need to be out in a month." And she was nearly in tears because she's the one who had been promising this. And she goes, "I know he doesn't like it. He's sad too, but he just has to do it. And he's being forced to do it." So during the middle of COVID, we had to find another apartment to have this whole thing. This is my only income, by the way, not just my only income. This was our family's only income. And so now we were totally told, "You've got to go work someplace else. We got to go find a place." And Doris pulled another miracle out of the hat. She's found every place we've ever been, and she found our current place, this beautiful abode with the stucco ceilings, the mold, the complete frozen pipes flooding on Christmas Eve, the dog shit outside that never gets picked up, the stoners, the people who stole my bike, the MetLab 2 floors up. She found this place on the last second, in the last minute. She found this place, and we were able to move. And once again, late at night, practically over a weekend, we moved everything out of this place, abandoned the butterfly garden, and moved into this apartment just to get through COVID. And at that was really the last straw. When that happened, I was like, I felt defeated. I felt like there would never be a Skill Stack again. It was over. I'm going to have a hard time talking about this because I felt like that was it. And I gave in. I was like, we didn't have any insurance. People were getting COVID all around us. My wife is a cancer survivor. It was the middle of all of that. And I was streaming during all of that. And I did try to stream some of the mentorships. I tried to do some of them live. I couldn't do anything in person, obviously, especially now because it was an apartment complex. It was completely forbidden. So I tried my hardest to keep doing online mentoring, and that worked for a while. But it took an extremely large amount of time. I couldn't maintain the load of people that I needed to pay my rent. No matter how cheap this place is, I couldn't maintain that. I had accrued some business debt based on handshake promises with my landlord. All those gaming computers you saw, they're right there. You know why? Because he told me I was going to have that place. So I invested $25,000 in hardware upgrades to make the place even better, based on a handshake with the landlord to kick me out of the first place. And I also bought $3,000 worth of t-shirts, which I then donated. They're gone now because I invested in the company to grow the company based on that agreement. And then he kicked us out. And then we had the two things. And then I have all of this hardware and debt left over from this business that was producing value. We were a sustainable, profitable business, but life happened and then COVID happened, and I was not able to get any help from anything because if I took even 2 seconds out to go apply for aid for whatever, it was just going to take away from my ability to make money every day. So this is the thing I don't tell about entrepreneurs is you don't have time. You don't have time to screw around with everything. When you're literally cleaning the toilets and setting up the networking and writing the curriculum and doing it all, and you don't have the money to hire a bunch of people, and you don't have a bunch of seed capital. If I had had $4 million in seed capital, you'd probably be seeing me instead of code ninjas all over America. But I didn't want to go to seed capital. I didn't want to bow down to that because I knew that it was going to be franchise. It was going to be McLearning, and I didn't want to have that. I didn't want that. So I actually considered franchising for a long time, and I thought better to put that money in helping other people mentor and finding people that want to build their own mentorship communities and teaching them and letting them go out and do that. That's the right thing to do because that would be promoting more of the Boy Scout original dream that I had of teaching, gamified learning, which is what it always was. And I just wanted to help other people do that. Maybe they'd be willing to pay for it. Turns out they don't give a shit. Seriously, I actually approached several very good academics and educators that were making under 30 grand a year, under 40, 30 grand a year, I would guess. And I approached them and I said, how would you feel about if I were to start a company that focused on training people about how to build their own mentorship businesses? And you know what they said? Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. No way too much risk. I'm not doing that. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do what I had done. And I was like, well, okay, I don't have insurance and I had to bounce around 3 times and now I have 25K of debt. And I had to think about it for a while and I'm like, you know what? They're right. Starting your own mentorship company without having another job that, checks all the boxes in more American capitalism is a bad idea because you can't fall back to insurance from a big cushy company. You can't fall back to those perks. You don't have dental. You don't have any of that. All you have is you versus the system. And I tell you what, that system doesn't give a shit about small entrepreneurs and educators at all. The only way you can operate in America or anywhere, frankly, is to take advantage of that system and then do it on the side until you get big enough to be able to do it on your own. The only other way to do that is to bow down and do the vulture capital, in which case they own you and they own what you produce and they could give it. They don't care about the learning. They want to see whether they're going to get a return on investment. That's not learning. Right? Or they're going to take over what you have to teach and they're going to say, oh, we're going to sell our proprietary Artifacts Rob developed skill stack content to everybody and nobody else can have it. Because you can't make money unless you have exclusivity and stuff like that. And it wasn't built in me. I didn't do it. So now I'm in a shitty apartment with stucco ceilings that I am grateful for. I am grateful for. You know why? Because I'm here. I am streaming to you. I am in nearly my underwear, the same uniform every day. I am healthy. I have this really awesome bike that I'm going to go ride later. I have a wife who's kicking ass right now and taking names in the art community. And we have SkillStack. But SkillStack has now taken the form of a website and a boost that's 2 hours on Saturdays. Why did I tell you all of this? Because I can't. I tried. I announced, I think probably 4 months ago, I announced that I was going to start taking on new potential applications for mentorships. And I thank you very much for the submissions. I have more than a dozen submissions to do personalized one-on-one mentoring. And before I did this version of the Boost, I was looking for ways to supplement our income. Since then, my wife got a job, so she's making really great money for this company. So we don't need the money as much. Number 2, I mean, we do need it, but not nearly as much. I also got a raise. I got a merit raise at the current job I'm on, so I'm making even more money. And so I don't need to do the one-on-one mentorship as much as I needed to before. It was going to be a supplemental form of income because the Boost, the streaming is not. I don't mind telling you, on a good month, I make $350 from Twitch through streaming, and that's it. A big ass streamer who does, and I've never gotten partner every time I've applied because I never go over 75 regular viewers because I stream for 10 fucking hours a day, and having over 100 viewers for 10 hours a day ain't happening. But I do have a community of very close friends that I know by name, and that's what I want. So that's why I do it this way. Is that going to be profitable? Probably not, but it pays the bills. As to the personal one-on-one mentoring, I don't need to do that anymore. So I was considering it because, but when I take on somebody to mentor, it's like taking on a Padawan learner in Jedi. I commit to them for life. If they commit to me, I commit to them, and I want to be there for them all the time, constantly. And so I am very, very picky about picking people for one-on-one mentoring. And I was only going to take on 3 people at the time, because that would be at least 3 dedicated hours a week, no matter what, of mentoring for the foreseeable future. And that would be the only people, right? And I always have I learned the hard way to really vet people before I let them into my mentor community, because I just was done. I've had so many stories. I don't want to go negative, but the stories I've had of people, and it's usually the parents, actually. It's not even the person. It's usually the parents. I won't get into the stories. The parents are the problem. 90% of the time, the parents are the problem. I did mentor people through Twitch live for a while. Many of these people I actually met on Twitch the last time I did this. I had built a lot of good friendships there, and we got started doing some good things, but I don't feel like the value of the mentoring, one-on-one mentoring, is as high unless it's actually in person. For example, I can't help you deal with hardware. I can't, there's just something about not being in the presence of another person, a physical presence, frankly, that makes mentoring hard. And I'm a big fan of in-person mentoring when it comes to the one-on-one kind of thing. Particularly, just for example, just making a USB stick and showing people how to do that, right? Adapting to their style. When I do the beginner boost, the biggest challenge I have for this is that I have to genericize the approach to this, I don't like the term, the lowest common denominator, right? I've got to find what is going to appeal to the most people. It's going to be understandable to the most amount of people, rather than catering that approach in a one-on-one style. When I was doing one-on-one mentoring, I could go to a person who I knew was capable, like somebody who was like a math whiz. I could use references to algebra and stuff like that while teaching functioning. Somebody else who didn't have it, somebody else who didn't even know how to type, I could focus on their specific needs one-on-one. I still, to this day, believe that the best possible learning is one-on-one, guru to apprentice mentoring. And I think it can be done at scale, provided you do it right and you find your right balances for resources and stuff. So as much as I believe in it and want to do it, number one, I'm not really in a position to do it one-on-one, because I want to do it in person, and we're still in this apartment. If we move into a townhome, or if we move into something, I may actually rent a space. I've talked about doing this. I don't know if we're going to do it, but our money is getting to the place where we might be able to actually rent a space in downtown Davidson or something. And in which case, or in Spruce Pine, we were talking about actually having retreats where we would sponsor around Christmas time. We would fly everybody in, and then they would have a coding retreat. They would have a tech retreat, and they could get really immersive, kind of like yoga training. And then we would go about it and have fun. And I'm a big fan of learning retreats. And that would be a way to do the one-on-one mentoring in a more intense way, as opposed to taking on somebody that you meet with once a week. Meeting once a week with somebody that you mentor is the ideal way, because then that person can do their learning during the week, and they can just save up all their questions for you for that 1 hour session. But then you really, really have to block out that time every week. Otherwise they're going to be lost. And I would take holidays and stuff, and sometimes we go 2 weeks without seeing each other. So those are all the reasons that I am sort of reconsidering offering one-on-one mentoring, until I can do it right. We still have some settling to do. I'll say we need to get into a house. We don't know when that'll be. And we're okay being here, frankly, until then. And so that just means I'm going to do the best possible thing that I can do to help people learn on their own, and be available to ask questions, not for me, but of other people. I can't answer every question. Obviously, I've got on average, 50 to 100 people in the chat. I can't answer everybody's question all the time. But I can come close to answering them the way I would for everybody, and then in organizing that content. So the bottom line is, rather than spending time on one-on-one mentoring, that hour, we'll say, that hour is better spent on investing in creating learning resources that I can really get behind and support, and videos and stuff like that, so that other people can go to it, so that the masses can go to that particular piece of education, and getting better at organizing that content. And over the years, the Boost has gotten better. SkillStack has always been pretty loose. It's been kind of a general direction because it's been one-on-one. And people want to learn different things on a given day. And when you're teaching them one-on-one, you can't do that. You don't have to follow a curriculum. You don't have to have a syllabus. You have to have a general idea about what they want to learn. But by doing it that way, the person doing the learning is in charge. And that is the difference between traditional education and mentoring like this, and the Boy Scout program, frankly. The Boy Scout is in charge. I know, I'm sorry, you don't like the Scouts, fine. But in the Scouting program, the Scout is in charge of the learning. Not the Scoutmaster, not the parents, as much as they would like to think they are, not the merit badge counselor. The Scout, the person doing the learning is in charge. And when the person doing the learning is in charge, it's really hard to have a curriculum, right? Because they can do whatever they want. And the thing is so great about it is that if you encourage other people to learn that way, they let's say they don't want to learn about for loops this week. That's what's on the syllabus, so we have to learn it. Maybe they don't give a shit about it. Maybe they want to learn how to hack with NetMap, with Nmap for today. So you take a break from the other thing, and you allows them to do the ADHD kind of thing, learning. And by the way, that's how your brain works. How many times have you been browsing the internet and found yourselves down some rabbit hole because you were learning something by just following all the clicks? You didn't follow some organized curriculum. You let your brain work the way human brains work, which is organically. Learning is an organic process. It's not clean. It's not organized. It's not formalized. Syllabuses are counterintuitive because that's not what we want to do. We want to just be free to learn whatever we want to, whenever we want to. But we do want to be able to come back and say, okay, did I get everything? Did I learn everything in order? Did I miss something? And people that freeform learn like that, and God knows I do, we miss shit all the time, right? Because it wasn't, this methodical, I have to learn this and this and this and this, right? So the perfect form of learning is to empower freeform learning, but to supplement it with a guide, and that is exactly what the Boy Scout Merit Badge program does. It gives them freeform learning, and it gives them a guide, and it says, okay, you have to do at least one of these things. Okay, you have to do these things. So they can do their freeform thing, and they can go all the way around. They can do whatever. They can knock out the requirements in any order they want to, but then they have to come back to those requirements and say, okay, I'm not going to go, I missed this. Oh, I got one other thing here. And then they go to their mentor, and the mentor's like, okay, what thing did you work on this week? The mentor does not care what they chose. It doesn't care whether they did the assignment for this week. They come and they say, what did you do? Talk to me about what you did. What do you have left in your requirements? Oh, you might want to think about this when you're looking at this. That is true learning. The Boy Scouts of America, despite everything else that has ever been said about them, have discovered the perfect way to organize learning for freeform, autodidactic learners. And that is what I want to enable in the world. That's what I want to make. And that is messy. And so people who come from the college or informal academia, they see my freeform thing. So you don't even have a curriculum. What the hell? You don't have an outline. Where's your website? Why can't I follow you on Udemy? Because that's not what I want. I don't want people to just get in line and learn it with the rest of the lemmings. I want them to take control of their learning, and I want them to learn what feels right to them in the moment. And that is not done in a very formalized way. Just not. So if I can come up with a way of creating, the OCMS is the Open Credential Merit System. That is the system that I have been working on the side that keeps getting put off, is my way to attempt to create that merit badge booklet, if you will, for a specific set of tasks that are relevant to technology. And if I don't take on a one-on-one person to mentor, I can spend time on that. Back when I did a lot of service and I volunteered for the Mooresville Christian Mission, I went to a big international regional service conference in downtown Charlotte, which was specifically about how to help become a better person at providing service. And at the time, I thought I might want to start a nonprofit to do service. And I worked a lot of times at the soup kitchen, and went to singles meetups to help people, and actually run Nerf gun wars with the orphanages and stuff like that. I actually met a girlfriend of mine doing that. She's military. She was a gunner. This is a really fun story on the side, by the way. She wanted to be a part of the Nerf gun thing, and yeah, we ended up hooking up. But it was a great story. I'll tell you that story another day. But anyway, while I was at this conference for service, I was sitting in a room, and I'll never forget it, because there was all these, amazing people, young and old, sitting there, all dedicated to getting better at alleviating suffering and providing service to the community. And we were just there for free. It was 100% free. We were all trying to be better. And the person in front of the room said, "Okay, I want all of you here that are sitting here today. I'm going to tell you something that I wouldn't tell other people." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "I want you to stop going to the soup kitchens. I want you to stop providing the services. I want you to stop organizing shelves." And we're like, "What the hell?" And because that's obviously, she goes, "If you are sitting here today, that means you are motivated enough to help organize those activities for others who don't know how to do it." And this woman said to us, she said, "We don't need more people to sit on the soup kitchen line. We need more people to organize the soup kitchen lines." And that just burned through me like nothing. It just burned through me. I was like, "Oh my God." And that happened, that dream, that's kind of happened in the interim, right? I'd already had that, told you the campfire story. So that was during my divorce time. And that was way before I met Doris. But I remember hearing that, and I took it to heart. I was like, if you want to help the world, if you want to change the world, yeah, you can sweep. I mean, like the Russian babushki that I used to see, they're out there sweeping the street, contributing to the society, making it a better place. I don't know how many times I saw an elderly Russian woman sweeping the fucking street just for no reason. They're just like out there because they wanted to do their part, right? Well, what's more valuable, sweeping the street or organizing, cleanliness and pollution? So we need more organizers. We need people who can do the organizing, who can take on those extra things and can help educate the other people to do those things. And that's where I want to spend my time. That's why I wanted to start a mentorship training program where I could maybe help other mentors become tech merit badge counselors, if you will. And I tried it, and it didn't work. It didn't work. In someplace along there, I met LTN Bob, who may or may not be here. He's actually one of the best educators I've ever met, one of the purest souls I've ever known, an absolute Christ follower in every degree. And I mean, I'm not particularly, I am a Christ follower. I don't consider myself Christian, but and along those lines, this is somebody that we've paired with this kind of dream of being able to do it. So teaching somebody one-on-one is never going to be as effective as organizing content and perhaps helping other people to teach themselves, and to a lesser degree, helping other mentors become courageous enough to do it so that they can help other people learn. And that means promoting discussions in the Discord. That means promoting other people. In fact, since I started doing this, I've had more than one person come up to me. I challenged them to it. I said, I challenge you to take on at least one person to mentor. And regularly in our Twitch stream, people will come in and they'll report about their cousin or their nephew or their niece or their spouse or anybody else that they are taking on to mentor who asked them for help. And so they are taking it on, and they're feeling the call, frankly, to help other people learn what they know. Now, usually that's not going to be your kids. All of my children hate programming. None of them want to do it. They don't want to do Linux. They don't want to do electronics. My oldest, while he was in college, this is a funny story. My oldest, while he was in college, and he actually called me because he was struggling with my ex-wife to learn, and he called me because he was having trouble learning how to code in C. And he calls me up and I'm talking through him everything, right? I was talking through the thing, and I was saying, okay, well, now you do this and this and this. He goes, wait a second, you know Linux? He actually said that to me. He's a freshman in college, struggling with the terminal to program C in college, and he says in that moment, you know Linux, Dad? I was like, yeah. It's like, I've been doing it forever. He had no idea. All of a sudden, he really appreciated it because he was failing his C class. And my ex-wife was like, you need to help him. He's failing C. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I can't have a child fail a C class. Oh my God, they don't even know Linux. He's like, I mean, his C code was so bad, man. I mean, he had been cutting and pasting stuff out of a book and trying to post it there and get it to work and just trying different combinations and everything. He had no structure to his learning. He was a brilliant kid. This is my oldest. He's autistic. I don't have any contact with him, haven't for more than a decade. But he, at the time, we used to take his homework away from him to punish him. That's how good he was a straight A student. But he was a straight A student in the academic sense. So was my ex-wife, by the way. Straight A's and everything always, including the C that she got in Spanish until she went and literally cried to her Spanish professor and got an A when she came back, and she was all happy after that. Yeah. Be careful who you marry. So, there was a lot of good things that happened at SkillStack that taught me that the best use of my time is to help others use their time effectively. Yes, one-on-one is powerful. If I were to take on one-on-one mentors, I would only take on 3, and that would be so that I could help remember how to help other people take on 1 or 2 or 3 people to mentor. And then I would recommend that people not exceed that, right? Even one person is a lot. Taking on one person and dedicating yourself to them, to helping them learn. And by the way, they should pay you for that. And if you think you're going to get free instruction from your friend who knows tech, don't you dare. You make sure to respect that time, their time. And you say, look, I would love to pay you, whatever, $20-$30 for an hour of your time every month, just so you can help me out. Right. And you approach them and see if you can get them to do it. And if I can get more of these people to accept that, it's kind of hard being a mentor, going to somebody and saying, hey, you want me to mentor you? That's not how it works, right? It usually is someone expresses interest, and then you've got it in your head that you possibly can do it. And they're like, well, I could help you out. And we'll figure something out. And like, really? You do that? And like, okay. That's the best mentorship, because you already know each other. You can communicate. You can deal with each other's styles. So if you call each other a moron to your face, if that's your style, you're okay. You're okay with it. And you can find a good mentor for you. And I am definitely not the right mentor for everybody. And I've been the first person to say that. There's been a lot of other people who have said that for me, that oh my God, I hope don't ever go to that man for your mentors. Anything that they learn you is going to make you a horrible person, and you're going to end up going to hell and shit. I'm not your mentor. Go someplace else. I don't care. I'll sweep your leg when we have a martial arts battle, though. Yeah, you can go be a Cobra Kai. Go be a Cobra Kai. You go be a Cobra Kai. I'm gonna make one Karate Kid. Bury him, finish him. I'd rather make one Karate Kid than a whole clan of Cobra Kai. And get money for it. That's just me. Wax on, wax off, baby. That's what I want. So it's a good deal. I would mentor people for that. I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. If you want to be a mentor, think about it. The only thing you need to know how to mentor is you need to be able to communicate to that person. That means if you're autistic and that person's autistic and you have the same communication style, you're good. You don't have to be a communicator. You don't have to be a public speaker. You don't have to be like people. You just have to be able to take. One of the best mentorships I ever had was with an artist who was terrified of human beings. And when I was a very young kid, my parents saw that. Unfortunately, I have no drawing ability, and I discovered that in that mentorship. I'm more of a drafter and a logo guy, but he sat down with me, next to me, like literally next to me, and helped me learn how to draw and stuff. Meanwhile, Lyle Bettis was his name. He was a big painter in the time. And so, I mean, I've been the beneficiary of apprentice style educations forever, including my parents. I'm estranged from them for now, and they want to be friends. I don't, but they did provide a bunch of opportunities for learning growing up. So do that for other people, and help them learn to learn for themselves. That's the goal. The goal is not to kick them out of the way and type the answer for them, which I used to always have to teach the TAs not to do. TAs, when you know something, your natural tendency is to flex about how much you know, even if you think you're helping the person. Right? I had see these TAs right here. This picture right here. That kid's a TA. He was a TA. He was a TA. In fact, I think one of these kids is in the stream right now. I don't say if you are. Don't dox yourself. But when they were TAs, I had to teach them. Every one of them. I had to say, when you're they would help somebody, and I would watch them. I'd monitor them helping somebody, and somebody would be struggling, and they would like scoot the keyboard away from the kid and start typing for them. I was like, that's not teaching them. That is not mentoring. But why did they want to do it? That's not that hard. Here you go. And they forgot really fast how hard it was when they were learning it. You had to remind them. You got to remember, you didn't know how to do this. I said, you are not allowed to touch the keyboard. You are not allowed to touch the keyboard. If you can't explain to them how to do it, then you're not ready to be a TA. But if you are able to explain to them what to do and why, then that's all you need. You don't need a degree. You don't need a teaching certificate. You can just go do it. By the way, they learned electronics in the lightsaber camp because they made their own circuit. We also made this circuit in Minecraft Redstone so that they knew what was going on. We didn't just put together a lightsaber. We learned basic electronics. They all made their own, and we did it in Redstone. It was really fun. So that is how you can do about mentoring. Everybody can do it. Everybody can be a mentor. Everybody can be a mentor. You can go do it. And that's the takeaway. So I am not going to take on any individual people yet. As I said, I don't want to do it until it's a really firm commitment. I know you weren't planning on an hour-long video or 2 hours or whatever this is, but I know you weren't planning on that. I'm sorry, but that's why I recorded it, because I don't want to go through this story every time. It seems like a lot to say, just to say, no, I don't take on privates anymore. But when I say that, it's not because I don't believe in private mentorship. It's because I believe more in enabling other people to do the same thing. So if that is you, if that describes you, please let me know. If you're one of the people who has diligently written your application, there's still hope. I may actually eventually do that. But every time I have to make a decision between whether I want to spend an hour training somebody else, or I can spend that hour writing a tutorial or some software to help people learn or keep track of their knowledge, like Zettelkasten, on my own health or whatever, I never come around to wanting to give that time to the mentorship. And I imagine there's other people out there that fits with. Some of you, however, probably most of you, not everybody listening to me right now is streaming for 10 hours a day and creating a beginner boost on the side, right? I mean, that burns up a lot of my free time, pretty much all of my free time. So if that's not you, right? So how can you help? At least 5 people from the stream have started streaming since they saw me. And they directly said, I started streaming because Mr. Rob challenged me to start streaming. And they have started streaming, and they have started helping other people. And Het Tanis, I kind of get embarrassed because every time I raid him, he has this kind of prepared dialogue to talk about how he's still streaming because I encouraged him to do it. And I love that he gives me credit for that, but he's the one doing it. And so give back. You can give back. If you know, you can share. And that can be through Twitch. That can be through one-on-one. That can be through writing a tutorial. It can be making Udemy that you make money on. It can be however you want to do it. But I challenge you to do it. I challenge you to try it. And if you don't know how to do it, and I still suck at it. I mean, if I write one of the many books I want to write, I'm still taking so long to write everything. I want to write a book about this. I want to write a book about the journey of helping other people mentor, about how Skillstack came to be, what I learned along the way, how you can help people learn, how you can fight against the tide of status quo bullshit traditional education that doesn't work. It's been proven to not work over and over and over again, and we still do it. And the only way we're going to win is if we take up arms against it. And arms in this case are modern social media, the sharing economy, YouTube, Twitch, our personal friendships. That's the way we're going to force traditional education to reform, or supplement it in a way that allows people to succeed in addition to the stuff that they're going to learn through traditional education, which, and I quote Sir Ken Robinson, beats the creativity out of people when they're young. So there you go. That's my spiel on SkillStack. This is a very long video. If you waited till the end, thank you very much. This is not me fishing for support, all right? I appreciate your likes, your subscribes. I particularly appreciate your GitHub contributions because you get credit for them too. It shows up on your little thing that you sponsor open source. So that's my favorite way to get contributions, because you get something out of it besides just, the nice feeling of giving money. And frankly, that's the only method of supporting me currently, other than taking it on and maybe letting me know when you start your own mentorship for somebody. I'd really love to know that, because that's worth more than money to me. Bye.